The night my own blood turned against me, I was 16 years old. My name is Marcus, and I'm 19 now, but those memories still burn like fresh wounds. If you're watching this because someone betrayed you, because your own family chose lies over truth, then you know exactly why I'm telling this story. Let me paint you a picture of my household back then. My father, Richard, ruled our home like a dictator who confused fear with respect. Cross him once, and you'd hear about it for months. Challenge his authority. That's when his leather belt came off the wall. My mother lived in his shadow, nodding along to every word like it was scripture carved in stone. Then there was Sarah, my sister, 3 years younger, yet somehow the sun that our family's universe revolved around. She could literally burn dinner to charcoal, and Dad would praise her for experimenting in the kitchen. Meanwhile, I'd forget to take out the trash once, and suddenly I'm destined to become society's biggest failure. Sarah aced a test. She's brilliant, dedicated, our pride and joy. I aced the same test. Lucky guess, probably cheated somehow. That was the script of my life, Sarah ascending while I drowned in their disappointment. But what happened that December night? That wasn't just favoritism anymore. That was pure, calculated destruction. Picture this, past midnight, I'm hunched over my ancient laptop in my room, trying to download some music while pretending to care about tomorrow's homework. The house is dead quiet. Then, bang, my door flies open so hard it leaves a dent in the wall. My parents storm in like a SWAT team, Mom's face flushed crimson, Dad's neck veins bulging like they might burst. And trailing behind them, Sarah, manufacturing tears that would have won her an Oscar. "He took it," she wailed, her finger aimed at me like a loaded weapon. I watched him steal from Dad's wallet. My blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about?" But Dad was already tearing through my room like a detective on a crime show. He ripped my pillow away, and there it was, crumpled bills, maybe $500 or $600, planted right where anyone would find them. My stomach dropped through the floor. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be real. "See, I told you," Sarah sobbed, those crocodile tears streaming perfectly down her face. Before I could even process what was happening, Dad was in my face, his finger jabbing into my chest. "You've disgraced this family for the last time. You think we're blind. You think we're idiots. That's not mine." I shot up from my bed, shaking. "She planted it. I've been saving every cent from mowing lawns. Ask Mrs. Patterson next door. Why would I?" "Silence," his roar rattled the windows. "A thief and a liar. You've turned this house into a circus." I looked desperately at Mom, searching for any hint of doubt, any motherly instinct that might save me. But she just echoed Dad's verdict like a programmed robot. No questions, no hesitation. Meanwhile, Sarah stood behind them, head bowed in fake innocence. But I caught it, that slight curl of her lips, that flash of triumph in her eyes as Dad started throwing my belongings into a garbage bag like I was trash being taken to the curb. "Please, Dad, this isn't real." He grabbed my backpack, dumped everything out, and started shoving random clothes inside. Mom opened her mouth, maybe to object, but one look from Dad shut her down instantly. Then Sarah delivered her masterpiece. "I'm scared to live with him," she whimpered. "He gets so angry. What if he hurts me?" Those words cut deeper than any beating ever could. I spun toward her, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Are you insane? I've never touched you." But the damage was done. Dad's jaw went rigid. "That's it, get out now." They shoved the bags into my arms and marched me down the hallway like a prisoner, Sarah trailing behind, whispering just loud enough for me to hear. "Told you they'd choose me." The front door flew open. December air hit me like a slap. I was barefoot, wearing only sweats and a thin t-shirt. Dad pushed me so hard I stumbled onto the porch, barely managing to grab my sneakers before the door could slam. "Don't come back until you're ready to confess and beg your sister's forgiveness," he growled. "I didn't do anything," my voice cracked. "She's lying, she set me up." "Don't you dare accuse her," Dad snarled. "She's everything you'll never be. You're just jealous and pathetic." The door slammed with such force the windows shook. I stood there on that porch, garbage bag hanging from my trembling hands, waiting for them to realize their mistake, waiting for the door to open, waiting for someone to choose truth over convenience. It never opened. I sank onto the cold porch steps, shivering, staring at our perfect suburban street. This wasn't just punishment. This was exile. 16 years old, standing outside my own home with nothing but a trash bag and a backpack, cast out by the people who were supposed to protect me. Before we continue, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, hit that subscribe button. Because this story, it's just getting started, and trust me, the revenge is worth the wait. Sarah had won. She had their unconditional love, their blind trust, and now she had my erasure. As I finally stood and walked off that porch into the freezing night, one thought burned through my mind. They chose her lies over my truth. I wasn't just the black sheep anymore. I'd been slaughtered and thrown to the wolves. That first night, I walked until my bare feet went numb in my sneakers. No direction, no plan, just a 16-year-old kid clutching a garbage bag like a lifeline. The park benches were soaked from sprinklers. The 24-hour stores had security watching for loiterers. Then I remembered Emma, my friend since middle school who lived 6 blocks away. When she opened her door and saw me standing there, garbage bag in hand, her eyes went wide. She pulled me inside without questions at first, gave me leftover Chinese food and a blanket on her floor. That night, I slept better than I had in months, even on that hard carpet. But kindness has limits. The next morning, Emma's mom pulled me aside, not cruel, just realistic. "Marcus, you can stay 2 more nights, but I can't afford another mouth to feed. You need to figure something out." I nodded, pretending everything would work out, while my insides twisted into knots. On night 3, she drove me to school early and made it clear I couldn't come back. From then on, I became a ghost, drifting from couch to couch. A classmate's basement for one night only. Another kid's couch, but just tonight my parents can't know. Nobody wanted to inherit my family's drama. Within 8 days, I'd run out of options. That's when the real homelessness began. Behind the Shell gas station, there was a corner where the security lights didn't reach. That became my bedroom. The dumpster blocked the wind, and if I curled up tight enough with my backpack as a pillow, I could almost pretend I was somewhere else. The public library became my daytime refuge until the security guard caught me there at closing. "Can't sleep here, kid," he said, escorting me out like I was some criminal. I tried the school bathroom once, locking myself in a stall after hours, but someone spotted my bag under the door. Word spread fast. Hunger hit worse than the cold. I'd saved maybe $60 from odd jobs, lawn work, babysitting the Henderson twins. That money evaporated on dollar menu items and vending machine crackers. After that, empty stomach or water fountain dinners. In chemistry class, my stomach growled so loud that Jennifer 2 seats over moved her backpack closer to herself. "Sorry," she whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I don't want my stuff going missing." The whole row snickered. I wanted to scream the truth, but what was the point? Sarah had done her work perfectly. By the end of week 1, the whole school knew her version. How I'd stolen $400 from Dad, how I was kicked out for being a junkie in training. She'd walk past me in the hallways, catch my eye, and flash that sweet smile she wore like a mask. In the cafeteria, she'd make sure everyone heard her say things like, "I'm just really careful with money now," unlike some people. One Tuesday, Brad, varsity basketball star, shoulder-checked me into the lockers. "Keep your thieving hands to yourself," he spat. I shoved back on instinct, ready to swing, but Mrs. Coleman broke it up. Guess who got the warning? "One more incident, Marcus, and you're suspended." By week 2, I was radioactive. I ate alone when I had food, walked alone, existed alone. But the nights were the real torture. Concrete doesn't get softer no matter how exhausted you are. My shoes reeked from walking 8 miles a day just to kill time. And every night the same thought haunted me. My own family did this. Not strangers, not enemies, my blood. Then one night, curled up behind that gas station with my hood pulled tight, I heard the voice that made my skin crawl. "Wow, still surviving out here." Sarah stood there holding a can of Sprite, casual as a Sunday morning, like she was just passing by. The neon Shell sign buzzed overhead, casting sick green light on her face. I sat up slowly. "Why are you here?" She shrugged. "Curious, I guess. Wanted to see how long before you came crawling back." My fists clenched. "Why are you doing this?" Her smile faded, replaced by something colder. "You want the truth. I spent 14 years being compared to you. Every mistake I made, it was don't be like Marcus. Every achievement had to be perfect or it wasn't good enough. Now I don't have to be perfect anymore. I just have to not be you. And that's so beautifully easy." "You're sick," I muttered. Her smile returned, wider and crueler. "What's sick is how simple it was. Everyone already thought you were the screw-up. I just confirmed their suspicions." She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And if you keep trying to fight this, if you keep running your mouth about me, I'll invent something worse. Then you won't just be homeless, you'll be in juvenile detention." She said it so calmly, so matter-of-factly that my blood went cold. This wasn't a threat, it was a promise. As she walked away, disappearing into the night, the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. She didn't just want me gone. She wanted me erased completely, like I'd never existed at all. If you've ever felt completely alone, completely betrayed, leave a comment. Sometimes knowing others survived the same darkness helps us keep going. By week 3, I'd hit rock bottom and started digging. Money gone, phone dead. Hadn't eaten anything real in 3 days. The garbage bag had torn, so I carried my moldy clothes in a ripped plastic shell that announced to the world, homeless failure. That night the rain came down like punishment. I walked for hours, soaked to the bone, my shoes squelching with every step. When the bag finally split completely, spilling my clothes onto the wet sidewalk, I just stood there laughing, or maybe crying. It was hard to tell in the rain. I ended up under a closed laundromat's awning, shivering so hard my teeth chattered. My stomach had moved past hunger into pure pain. That's when the thought crept in, maybe I should just disappear. Maybe that's what everyone wanted. That's when Emma found me. She came running through the rain with an umbrella, hair plastered to her face, breathing hard like she'd been searching everywhere. "Marcus, why haven't you answered your phone? I've been looking all over." "Phone's been dead for weeks," I croaked. She knelt beside me, ignoring the puddles soaking her jeans. "You look terrible." "Thanks," I tried to laugh, but it came out broken. She pressed a wrinkled envelope into my shaking hands. "Take it." Inside was $80 in small bills. My throat closed up. "Emma, I can't." "You can and you will," she cut me off. "It's my allowance money. I don't need it, you do." I couldn't speak. I just held that envelope like it was made of gold. She looked around, then whispered, "There's something else." Sarah was bragging at Jessica's party. I heard her myself. She admitted she planted the money, that she framed you. My head snapped toward her. She confessed, "Yeah, but Marcus." Nobody cared. Some even said even if it was true, you probably deserved it. Those words hit harder than any fist. Deserved it. That's what they thought of me. That night, sitting in that laundromat doorway, soaking wet and broken, something inside me crystallized into pure determination. If nobody would stand up for me, I'd stand up for myself. After cleaning up in a gas station bathroom, I gathered my pathetic belongings and started walking. Not nervous, not scared, just done. Our house looked exactly the same. White vinyl siding, Mom's flower boxes on the porch, the home where I'd grown up, but that had never really been mine. My fist hit the door 3 times, hard enough to split my knuckles. Footsteps. Then the door opened, and there stood Sarah, like she'd been expecting me. "Well, look what the storm dragged in," she smirked. I pushed past her before she could react, my soaked shoes squeaking on the hardwood. "I'm not here to stay. I'm here to make you all listen." Mom's voice floated from the kitchen. "Marcus." She appeared, dish towel in hand. Dad right behind her with his arms already crossed in judgment. "Get out," Dad commanded. "Now." "No," I said, louder than intended. "You're going to hear me this time. You've swallowed her lies for 3 weeks. Tonight, you're going to hear the truth." Dad stepped forward, towering over me. "Watch your tone, boy." "Watch my tone," I laughed bitterly. "You threw your son out with a garbage bag because Sarah cried and waved some bills around. You didn't even ask my side. Not once. Because we know you," Dad shot back. "You've always been careless, jealous." "Jealous," I interrupted. "Let's talk about that. Remember when she copied my entire science project? Teacher called home and who got punished? Me, for making her cheat." She cried. You believed her. It's always the same story. Dad's jaw tightened. For a split second, I saw recognition in his eyes. He knew I was right, but instead of admitting it, he doubled down. "Don't stand in my house and disrespect this family. You want us to admit we favored her. Fine, we did, because she earned it. She keeps her grades up, helps your mother, stays out of trouble. You can't even keep a roof over your head." The words landed like punches. My fists clenched, but I forced myself to stay standing. "I can't keep a roof because you threw me out, because she framed me and you believed her without thinking twice." Behind them, Sarah leaned against the wall, sipping water like she was watching a movie. I turned to her. "Go ahead. Swear you didn't plant that money. Look me in the eye and swear it." She tilted her head, lips twitching with amusement. "Sure, I swear," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You hear that?" I pointed at her. "She can't even say it seriously. She's lying to your faces and you still believe her." Dad's face went purple. Then, without warning, he grabbed a glass from the side table and hurled it at me. His aim was off, but it exploded against the wall inches from my head. Shards rained down, cutting my arm and cheek. Blood trickled down, but he just pointed at the door. "Get out before I call the cops. You want to keep making scenes? You can do it from a jail cell." I stood there, breathing hard, blood mixing with rainwater on my face. "You've made your choice," I said quietly. "You chose her. You always choose her. But one day, you're going to see exactly what she is. And when that day comes, don't come looking for me." The room went dead silent except for Sarah's soft chuckle. "Wow," she muttered, shaking her head. "Drama queen much." I grabbed my soaked bag from the floor and turned toward the door. Every step felt like dragging chains, but I didn't stop. At the threshold, I turned back one last time, looking at each of them. My parents frozen in their righteousness, Sarah smirking like she'd won the lottery. "You think I'm the problem?" My voice was steady now, empty of hope. "Fine, but when the truth detonates in your faces, remember this moment. Remember that I warned you." Then I yanked the door open, walked into the rain, and slammed it behind me with enough force to rattle the frame. The cold rain mixed with the warm blood trickling down my arm from the glass cuts. I walked fast, jaw clenched, trying to put distance between me and that house of lies. But I'd barely made it to the sidewalk when I heard footsteps splashing through puddles behind me. "Hey, wait up, brother." My spine went rigid. I spun around, and there she was, Sarah, jogging after me through the rain, casual as ever. Her face glowing under the streetlight like this was all some amusing game. Like Dad hadn't just tried to shred me with glass 30 seconds ago. What I didn't notice was the soft creak of the screen door behind her, or the shadow that moved on the porch. My stomach churned. "What do you want now?" She slowed to a walk, sliding her hands into her hoodie pockets, completely relaxed like we were taking an evening stroll. "Just curious. Wanted to see how far you'd actually push this whole victim act." "Victim act?" I stared at her, fists clenching. "You destroyed my life." Her smile widened, teeth catching the streetlight. "Nobody's ever going to believe you, Marcus. You can scream, bleed, beg on your knees. It won't change anything. To them, you'll always be the failure, and I'll always be the one they're proud of." "Proud?" I spat the word. "Proud of what, being a liar?" She laughed, actually laughed. "You still don't get it, do you?" Her voice dropped, colder now. "I didn't destroy you. I just gave them evidence of what they already believed. Best decision I ever made." My chest tightened, pulse pounding in my ears. "Say it again." I stepped closer, rain streaming down my face. She leaned in, her voice a poisonous whisper, savoring every syllable. "I framed you. I planted that money, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Watching you beg while I win, that's the sweetest part." The words cut through me like broken glass. Blood rushed in my ears, mixing with the sound of rain hitting concrete. Every drop running down my arm from the cuts seemed to burn. Then another voice shattered the moment. "What did you just say?" We both froze like statues. Mom stood at the edge of the porch, rain beginning to soak her sweater, arms wrapped tight around herself. Her face was pale as paper, and her eyes, for the first time in 3 weeks, weren't looking at me with disappointment. They were locked on Sarah with pure horror. "What did you just say?" Mom repeated, her voice harder now, like she didn't recognize the daughter standing in front of her. Sarah went rigid, the smirk sliding off her face like melting wax. "Mom, it's not. He's twisting everything." "Don't." Mom stepped down onto the walkway, rain immediately soaking through her house slippers. "Don't you dare lie to me. I heard you. Every word. You said you framed him. You said you planted the money." For the first time in my entire life, I felt something crack open in my chest. Hope. Raw, desperate hope. "You heard her, Mom. You finally heard her." Sarah's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. No quick excuse. No fake tears. No smooth recovery. She was exposed, naked under the streetlight's glare. The screen door slammed against the frame like a gunshot. Dad stormed onto the porch, his voice booming across the yard. "What the hell is going on out here?" Mom turned to him, her whole body trembling. "She confessed, Richard. She just admitted she framed Marcus. Our daughter framed our son." The color drained from Dad's face like someone had pulled a plug. He stood frozen on the porch, then slowly descended the steps, each footfall heavy and deliberate. He looked at Sarah like he'd never seen her before. "Is that true?" His voice was quiet now, dangerous. Sarah's lips twitched. Her eyes darted between all three of us, panic flickering across her features like a dying light bulb. Her fingers picked at the wet fabric of her hoodie pockets, nervous energy with nowhere to go. She opened her mouth to deny it again, but something in her snapped, the mask finally cracking completely. "So what if it is?" The words exploded out of her, venomous and raw. "I had to. You two put all the pressure on me to be perfect, to be the example. Every single day, Sarah, be better than your brother. Sarah, don't disappoint us like Marcus." I couldn't let him ruin that, so yeah, I handled it. "I made sure he was the one you gave up on, not me." Her voice cracked on the last words, but the damage was done. The confession hung in the rain-soaked air like poison. Mom staggered backward, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God! Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks, her body shaking with sobs. Oh my God, what have we done? Dad's jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding. His hands curled into fists, but this time they weren't aimed at me. His face went from pale to red to purple, staring at Sarah like she was a stranger wearing his daughter's face. You destroyed your brother's life, Mom whispered, her voice breaking completely. You threw me out, I shouted, my throat raw. You believed her over me. You threw your son into the street with nothing but garbage because she cried and pointed a finger. And now you finally hear the truth when it's too late. Sarah crossed her arms, trying to salvage some defiance. Don't act like you're some hero. You were always the mistake. I just made sure everyone else could see it too. Her words should have hurt, but they just felt empty now. I clenched my fists, not to hit her, but to keep myself standing. The exhaustion of 3 weeks hit me all at once. The silence stretched out, broken only by rain and Mom's sobbing. Dad just stared, looking like someone had ripped his spine out. And me? I stood there bleeding, soaked, exhausted, but finally vindicated. Subscribe now if you want to see how this ends, because trust me, the revenge is just beginning, and Sarah's about to learn what real consequences feel like. Now you know, I said quietly, looking at each of them. Now you know who she really is, but knowing doesn't erase what you did to me. It doesn't give me back 3 weeks of sleeping behind dumpsters, of going hungry, of having the whole school think I'm a thief. I stepped forward, blood and rain dripping from my chin. You don't just get to apologize and pretend this never happened. You ruined me publicly, so you're going to fix it publicly. Dad's head snapped toward me, some of his old authority trying to resurface. Watch yourself. No, I cut him off. You don't get to give orders anymore. You lost that right when you chose her lies over your son. If you want me to even consider stepping foot in that house again, you're going to clear my name, publicly. Mom blinked through her tears. What do you mean publicly? Facebook, Instagram, the church newsletter, the family group chat. I don't care where, but you're going to tell everyone the truth, that I never stole anything, that you favored Sarah and let her lies destroy me. You're going to admit what kind of parents you really are. Otherwise, I'll do it myself, and I'll include every detail, including how Dad threw a glass at his own son tonight. Dad's face flushed. We don't air family business. I laughed, harsh and bitter. You already did when you threw me out with a trash bag. You let Sarah's story spread through school, church, the whole neighborhood. Everyone knows your version. Now they're going to know the truth. Mom looked at Dad, searching for direction like always, but he stood there silent, drowning in the rain. For the first time in their marriage, his silence didn't protect them, it condemned them. Mom pulled out her phone with shaking hands. If you won't do it, Richard, she said quietly, then I will. Dad's glare could have melted steel, but Mom didn't flinch. His control was shattered, and she knew it. Tell me what to write, she said to me, her voice small. Sarah's head whipped toward her. Mom, you can't. Quiet, Mom shrieked, making us all jump. You did this, you brought us here. I moved closer, my voice steady despite everything. Write this. We need to apologize publicly. Our son Marcus was wrongly accused of stealing. The truth is our daughter Sarah framed him, and we believed her without question. We spoiled her, protected her, and let her lies destroy his reputation. We failed as parents. Marcus deserves to be seen for who he really is, not the scapegoat we made him. Mom typed every word with trembling fingers while Dad stood like a statue. He didn't stop her. He couldn't. She hit post. Within seconds, her phone started buzzing. Comments, reactions, messages, all flooding in. The truth was out there, spreading like wildfire through our entire social circle. Sarah exploded. You just ruined my life. Everyone's going to hate me. Dad rounded on her, his voice low and lethal. No, Sarah, you ruined your own life, and you ruined this family. For the first time, her face crumpled completely. No smirk, no fake tears, just pure panic as she realized her pedestal had been demolished. I stood there in the rain, watching Mom's phone light up like a Christmas tree, notification after notification, the truth spreading through our entire world like a virus. Each ping was another person learning what really happened. Each message was another crack in Sarah's perfect image. You wanted me gone, Sarah, I said, my voice cutting through the rain. You wanted me erased. Well, now it's your mask that's been erased. Everyone knows exactly who you are. She stared at me, her voice shaking for the first time. You think they'll forgive you? You'll always be the one who caused drama, the difficult one. I stepped closer, locking eyes with her. No, I'll be the survivor. You'll be the liar who got caught. The silence that followed was deafening. broken only by Mom's quiet sobs and the relentless pinging of her phone. Dad looked like he'd aged 15 years in 15 minutes. And Sarah, she finally looked as small as she really was. I hefted my soaked backpack onto my shoulder and walked toward the porch. I'm taking back my room. This isn't a favor you're doing for me, you owe me. You threw me out like garbage. Now you're going to give me shelter, food, and you're going to live with what you did. Every single day. Nobody argued. Nobody dared. They stood there in the rain like broken mannequins while I walked past them into the house. The inside felt foreign, like entering a stranger's home, but I wasn't a guest anymore. I wasn't a beggar. I'd earned my way back through truth, not lies. As I dropped my garbage bag by the stairs, I turned back to see them all standing in the doorway. Mom hollow-eyed, Dad stone-faced, Sarah radiating fury and fear. You wanted a perfect daughter so badly that you turned your son into a villain, I said quietly. Tonight, you told the world the truth. Don't think that fixes anything. But at least now everyone knows what kind of family this really is. I climbed the stairs, each step heavy but certain. For the first time in 3 weeks, I was going to sleep in an actual bed. Not because they allowed it, because I demanded it. The next morning came like a bomb going off. Mom's phone hadn't stopped buzzing all night. By 7 a.m., the post had been shared 47 times. Comments poured in from relatives, church members, neighbors, teachers, everyone. I can't believe this, poor Marcus. It takes courage to admit this publicly. Praying for your family. Sarah seemed like such a sweet girl. You never really know someone. That boy slept behind the gas station, and you did nothing. I came downstairs to find Mom at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes, scrolling through message after message. Dad sat across from her, his coffee untouched and cold. Sarah was nowhere to be seen. The church called, Mom said without looking up. They want to know if we're still coming to service on Sunday. Dad's laugh was bitter. What do you think? Mrs. Patterson wants to know if Marcus needs anything. Mom continued, her voice mechanical. The Johnsons are asking if we need family counseling recommendations. Your brother called me a monster. Each word landed like a small knife. Good. Let them feel what I felt, judgment, shame, isolation. Sarah appeared in the doorway, dressed for school but looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Dark circles, puffy eyes, her usually perfect hair hanging limp. I'm not going, she announced. Yes, you are, Dad said, his voice flat. You're going to face what you did. Everyone hates me now, she shrieked. Jessica won't answer my texts. Brandon broke up with me through Instagram. The whole school thinks I'm psycho. Because you are, I said, buttering my toast with deliberate calm. You're just mad everyone else finally knows it. She lunged at me, but Dad caught her arm. Enough. You've done enough damage, Sarah. You're going to school, you're going to face the consequences, and you're going to learn what it feels like to be on the other side. If someone in your family ever chose favorites and it destroyed your life, hit that subscribe button right now. Because sometimes the truth needs witnesses. School was a battlefield, but for once I wasn't the target. I walked through those doors to something I'd never experienced, sympathy. People who hadn't looked at me in weeks suddenly wanted to talk. Kids who'd called me a thief were apologizing. Even Mrs. Coleman pulled me aside. Marcus, I'm so sorry. If I'd known, we should have investigated better. Meanwhile, Sarah moved through the hallways like a ghost. Her usual crowd scattered when she approached. I watched Jessica, her best friend, literally turn and walk the other direction when Sarah called her name. At lunch, she sat alone at the end of a table, picking at her food while whispers followed her everywhere. That's her, the one who framed her own brother. Psychopath behavior, honestly. My mom says her parents are getting divorced over this. That last one wasn't true, yet. But the rumors about Sarah were spreading faster than wildfire, each one worse than the last. She was tasting her own medicine, and it was bitter. Brad, the basketball player who'd shoved me, found me after school. Hey man, I'm sorry about before. That was messed up. What she did, I mean. Nobody deserves that. I just nodded. I wasn't ready to forgive anyone yet. The real explosion came 3 days later. I was in my room. My actual room with my actual bed, when I heard Dad's voice thundering from downstairs. Sarah, get down here now. I crept to the top of the stairs to listen. Want to explain this? Dad's voice was deadly calm, which was worse than yelling. I don't know what you're talking about. Mrs. Chen called. She says money's been missing from the youth group fundraiser. Money you were in charge of. $300, Sarah. Ring any bells? Silence. She also mentioned you've been bragging about your new phone. The one you said Jessica gave you. Want to try again? Sarah's voice went small. I was going to pay it back. The crash of Dad's fist hitting the table made the whole house shake. "You stole from the church, after everything, after what you did to your brother. I needed it. Nobody would lend me money anymore. Everyone treats me like I'm toxic." "Because you are toxic," Dad roared. "You're a liar and a thief, and you tried to pin it on your own brother. You destroyed this family." Mom's voice joined in, broken and angry. "We gave you everything. We believed you, protected you, chose you, and this is what you are." "You made me like this," Sarah screamed back. "You put all the pressure on me. I had to be perfect all the time." "No," I said, walking down the stairs. All three of them turned to look at me. "You chose to be this way. I had the same pressure, the same parents, the same expectations, but I never framed you. I never tried to destroy you. That was all you, Sarah. Own it." She glared at me with pure hatred. "This is all your fault, if you just admitted it. Admitted to something I didn't do, so you could keep being the golden child." I shook my head. "No, you made your choices, now live with them." The church pressing charges was the final nail in Sarah's coffin. They gave her a choice: return the money and do 200 hours of community service, or they'd involve the police. She took the community service, but the damage was done. Everyone knew. The golden child was actually fool's gold. Before we get to the ending, remember to subscribe if you've ever had someone underestimate you. Because the best revenge, it's not what you think. 6 months later, everything had changed. I was back in school, my grades recovering. Turns out when you're not sleeping behind dumpsters, homework gets easier. Who knew? Emma and I grew closer. She was the only one who tried to help when everyone else turned away. We started dating 2 months after I moved back home. The house felt different now, quieter, more honest maybe. Dad barely spoke anymore, the weight of his choices crushing his previous arrogance. He tried to apologize once, stumbling over words about doing what he thought was best. I told him I'd forgive him when I was ready. That might be never. Mom tried harder. She cooked my favorite meals, asked about my day, actually listened when I talked. It felt hollow, like she was playing a role titled Good Mother, but at least she was trying. The church women still whispered about her at service. She'd lost her position on the volunteer board. Consequences have a long reach. And Sarah was a shell of her former self. The community service at the church meant everyone constantly saw her shame. Cleaning bathrooms, setting up chairs, filing paperwork, all while people watched and remembered what she'd done. Her college applications had to explain a family crisis that derailed her junior year. Her recommendation letters from teachers were lukewarm at best. One night, I found her crying in her room. Real tears this time. "I ruined everything," she whispered when she saw me in the doorway. "Yeah," I agreed. "You did. Do you hate me?" I thought about it for a long moment. "No, but I'll never trust you again. Ever. You killed something between us that can't come back." She nodded, tears falling harder. "I know. The worst part," I continued, "you did it all for nothing. Mom and Dad love you less now than they ever loved me. You had everything, Sarah, and you destroyed it because you couldn't stand sharing even a crumb." I left her there crying and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, just empty. Some wounds don't heal, they just scar over. The truth has a funny way of spreading. My story somehow made it beyond our town. Someone posted about it online, and it went viral on Reddit. "Sister frames brother, parents take her side until she confesses." Thousands of comments, people sharing their own stories of family betrayal and favoritism. Sarah had to delete all her social media. The internet doesn't forget, and teenagers are cruel when they smell blood in the water. Someone even made a meme out of her yearbook photo with the caption, "When you frame your brother, but forget about security cameras." There were no cameras, but the damage was done. But here's what I learned. Revenge isn't sweet. It's necessary, but it's not sweet. Watching Sarah fall apart didn't fix those 3 weeks of hell. It didn't erase the hunger, the cold, the fear that I might die behind that gas station and nobody would care. It didn't give me back the innocence of trusting my family completely. What it did give me was freedom. Freedom from trying to earn their approval. Freedom from being compared to Sarah. Freedom from believing I was the problem. Now, a year later, I'm 17 and planning for college, far away from here. I've got a part-time job, my own bank account, and backup plans for my backup plans. I learned to never depend on anyone who's shown they'll throw you away. Mom asked me once if I thought our family could ever be normal again. "We were never normal," I told her. "We were just good at pretending." Sarah learned that from somewhere, didn't she? That shut down that conversation fast. Dad tried to have a man-to-man talk about forgiveness and moving forward. I laughed in his face. "You threw a glass at me," I reminded him. You chose her lies over my truth without hesitation. You want forgiveness, earn it. Spend the next decade earning it. Maybe when I'm 30, we can talk. He hasn't brought it up since. As for Sarah, she'll graduate next year, barely. No more honor roll, no more academic awards, no more golden child status. She'll probably get into a state school, maybe community college. She'll always be the girl who framed her own brother. That's her identity now, and she built it herself. Sometimes I catch her looking at me during family dinners, which are silent, awkward affairs now. There's something in her eyes that might be regret, might be longing for how things used to be. But used to be is dead. She killed it the night she planted that money. The last thing I'll say is this. If your family treats you like you're worthless, like you're the problem, like you'll never measure up, document everything. Save texts, record conversations if you legally can, tell trusted adults. Build your case. Because when the truth finally comes out, you want receipts. And when they say family is everything, remember, family is who stands by you when you're sleeping behind gas stations, not who puts you there. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Sarah taught me that. My parents confirmed it. And now they all get to live with the family they created, broken, suspicious, and built on the rubble of the lies they chose to believe. If this story hit you in the chest, if you've survived your own family betrayal, subscribe now. Share this with someone who needs to hear that the truth always finds its way to the surface. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes years, but lies never stay buried forever. Me, I'm counting down the days until I turn 18. Until I can leave this house of broken trust and never look back. I survived their worst. I survived Sarah's lies, Dad's violence, Mom's weakness, and 3 weeks of hell that should have broken me. But I'm still here, still standing, still breathing. And that's the best revenge of all, proving that even when your own blood tries to destroy you, you can rise from those ashes stronger than before. They wanted me gone. Too bad. I'm still here, a permanent reminder of their failure as parents and as human beings. Sarah got what she wanted. She's the only child they focus on now. But it's not admiration anymore. It's supervision. It's distrust. It's the knowledge that the daughter they chose over their son is capable of destroying anyone to get what she wants. They chose her lies over my truth. Now they're drowning in the consequences. And me, I'm just watching from the shore, building my raft to sail away from this shipwreck of a family. The golden child's lie gave me my freedom, and that's a debt she'll never be able to repay. Sometimes, late at night, I still dream about those weeks behind the gas station. I wake up checking to make sure I'm in a real bed. The trauma doesn't just disappear because the truth came out. But every morning I wake up in that house, I remember, I won. Not because I destroyed her, she destroyed herself. I won because I survived. And survival. That's the ultimate revenge against people who wanted you to disappear. This is Marcus, signing off. To everyone out there fighting for your truth, keep going. Keep fighting. The truth might take its time, but when it arrives with receipts. And to my sister, if you ever watch this, you were right about one thing. I was different from you. I had something you never did, integrity. And that's why I'm still standing while you're still falling. Subscribe now if you believe that truth always wins in the end. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this story. Someone needs to know they're not crazy, they're not the problem, and they're not alone. Hit that button and let's build a community of survivors who refuse to let lies define us.